Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 23 of Cocktails and Conversation. Nick Luck here with you live from London. Mark Tubridy from his beautiful loft apartment in Brooklyn, New York. This week, it's the MLB playoffs, the NBA finals, college football, the NFL, plus the Preakness, of course. Keeneland Fall Stars weekend, the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, 16 winning your in Breeders' Cup races. What a time, Mark Tubridy, to be a sports fan. And if you just happen to be a horse racing tragic who likes to get drunk into the small hours, or indeed any time of the day, you've come to the right place for booze and schmooze. Brad Cox along later. Mark Tubridy here now. Mark, how are you? How's your week been?
It's been good, Nick. It's been a busy week, all good things. I mentioned to you before the show, I'm starting to do some more cocktail classes, online tutorials like this. So I joked before that some people are stuck with me for a full hour of geeking out over history. You guys get me for small segments, so it's a little bit more tolerable. But no, I'm super excited. Got some things going on here while we wait for the official return of, I guess, increased indoor dining. They did officially start 25% indoor capacity here in New York. So it's a baby step in the right direction. We're all crossing our fingers we can get up to 50%, hopefully in November.
And we await also the official return of Britney Eurton to Cocktails and Conversations. She's missed the very start of the show. But Britney, are you there? Oh, my God.
I am here. I'm probably a little bit delayed. Apologies, but I landed in Washington. I am on my way to the hotel in Baltimore. I should be there any minute. I'll rush up to my room because I'm excited for our special guest today. But just wanted to pop in and say hi and showcase my Dodgers.
And have you been suitably escorted to your hotel in Baltimore? You've got the appropriate detail?
Yes. No. Come on. No. I don't have a police escort, but that would be special, wouldn't it? I'm sure, Nick, you get one every time you go to the race course, huh?
Well, I mean, I should. I'm not sure I necessarily do. So what's your ETA, and are you going to be with us for the duration?
Yes, I will. ETA is probably about 2 or 3 minutes. Then I got to check in. So give me about over under, let's say 10 minutes. Okay.
All right. So, and are you looking forward to the Preakness? How's it going to be this weekend?
Oh, I can't wait. Preakness to me is one of my favorite shows to do, even though there's no spectators this year. It just has a different vibe. I really would love to reflect upon you being at the Preakness and in the infield with the porta potties and your tea. I mean, it was quite enjoyable. We'll miss you.
Yeah, Preakness with no infield is not going to be quite the same. That sort of bacchanalian revelry. Well, that's being a bit polite, really, isn't it? But certainly unlike anything I've ever experienced before. People talked about the infield, a concert, people having fun at the races. Well, yeah, we've seen all that, but there's nothing quite like the Preakness.
I've heard about it. I haven't witnessed it in person, but I've been reading about it all week, so it sounds like a sight to behold.
That it is. I'm sure we have plenty of videos that we can show you. But hey, I'm going to duck out as I'm getting to the hotel right now, so I'll see you all soon.
Awesome. We'll see you soon, Britney.
All right. Well, that
Nick,
was
I saw a question pop up there about ratios for pitchers for cocktails. I think we've got some people that are hopefully planning on doing some social distancing entertaining this weekend. It's a great question because we are going to be making the Black Eyed Susan, of course, the official drink of the Preakness. And half the recipes I found online did it in terms of a pitcher. So it's a very, very good question, KL. So we'll definitely try to scale some of those up for you guys so that you don't have to worry about making it again and again. You can have a nice pitcher for all your guests.
Would the Black Eyed Susan be drunk anywhere else but Baltimore on Preakness weekend?
It's an interesting question because, I mean, most people would probably be tempted to say not really because it's that official drink that we associate with the Preakness. But as I'll get to later on, when I was trying to take a look at that recipe, because there are a lot of recipes for that drink. It's one of those things where the name has stayed the same, but the recipe has changed over the years. But at its core, it's a refreshing, almost what I see as a tropical cocktail. So in that sense, if you kind of master this recipe, it's something that you can enjoy even past race day itself.
Okay. So do you like it?
I do like it. But I actually like my refreshing kind of tiki cocktails. I think I spoke a little bit about that to you guys earlier on in season 1. But tiki cocktails or tropical cocktails, as much as they sometimes get written off as overly fruity or maybe not too strong or not too complex, there's a really rich historical culture surrounding those tropical drinks. And it actually dates back to, I mean, we're talking late 1930s, 1940s in Oakland, California, Polynesian-themed restaurants like Trader Vic's and Don the Beachcomber, a lot of rich history there. And if you get those cocktails just right, again, they're fantastic. So I do like the Black Eyed Susan, especially the one that we're going to be making tonight. It's a solid recipe.
I mean, so how many of your own creations do you actively drink? Because you're sitting there making these all day. Do you actually enjoy most of them?
I do, absolutely. That doesn't mean I make that all the time. This is sort of, I guess, a thing with bartenders is that we love to get really creative, especially when we're entertaining or speaking with people. But then at the end of the day, oftentimes we go for something very, very simple. So my go-tos are Manhattans, Negronis, or even a whiskey neat. But I always enjoy the cocktails that we're doing on the show. And I usually find myself making at least one more, if not, for my wife, then for myself after we wrap each week. But I definitely do love them.
Should we bring in our guest this evening?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's one of the world's most exciting, and I can still call him a young trainer, because when you look at the combined ages of Bob Baffert and John Gosden, he definitely counts as in the first flush. He is, of course, Brad Cox, dual Kentucky Oaks winning trainer, multiple Breeders' Cup winning trainer of the great race mare that is Monomoy Girl. Brad Cox, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know where you are, so.
How y'all doing?
We're good. You've got quite a busy weekend. Just the 27 horses running this weekend at 5 tracks. You look remarkably chilled out for a man with such a busy schedule on.
I've been up since 3:30. I'm ready for bed. So now, we have a big weekend ahead. Kicks off tomorrow. Looking forward to some big races between Keeneland, Pimlico, and a big runner Sunday at Belmont.
I mean, in your career, is this the most hectic you've ever been? Is this the most manic life's ever been?
And I can't say it's the most, but it's obviously a busy weekend. I've been spending the last few mornings myself at Keeneland, preparing some horses for some grade ones this weekend, and obviously, we're in good hands. We got plenty of help throughout the country, and we have, like you said earlier, several horses at Pimlico. So, we're well staffed. I feel comfortable with everything going on, but it's busy. This is what you work for. This is what you get up 7 days a week for, and I put in all the hours are for weekends like this leading up to the Breeders' Cup. This is kind of a rehearsal for Breeders' Cup. Hopefully it goes well, and we'll be active Breeders' Cup weekend as well.
It's fun. Dorian Dickinson, who's a regular to this show, says Brad Cox is a future Hall of Fame trainer for sure. Well, you're certainly on the right trajectory. It's funny because when you have lots of success and you're sort of younger than, I was going to say, as I say, younger than about 65, people keep saying you're the next big thing, but you're in your 15th season. For you, it probably doesn't feel like an overnight success.
No, not at all. I mean, it's we've been in business 15 years. It started when I was 24, training, and a lot of cold winter nights at Turfway Park. That's what I remember in the beginning, and we've played at every different level, at all different levels. It wasn't just we didn't just step into a barn full of expensive quality horses. I mean, we worked our way up the claiming ranks, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. We learned a lot with those horses, and it taught us a lot. I mean, working, like I said, from the bottom level claimers to maiden claimers, whatever it may be, cheap, what you'd say lower level tracks. It's just, a lot of experience, and it was a great, way to get started, I believe.
And you'd worked for some great people as well, Jimmy Baker, and you were assistant to Dallas Stewart, who's not only a great trainer, but a great character, very charismatic guy as well. Were you always going to kick on early? Was it always were you always driven to go early, or was there something that made you go earlier than you might otherwise have done?
I was pretty anxious to get going. I look back, I always say, maybe I started out a little too early, but it's happens the way it's meant to happen. And but I was very anxious to start training on my own. The whole time I was working for Jimmy Baker, for Dallas Stewart, leading up to leaving Dallas was my last job. I planned for it. I thought about it, and I didn't know how I was going to hopefully win a Kentucky Derby or Kentucky Oaks or British Cup races. But that was always my goal. And along the way, I mean, there's obviously, I guess a lot of, you start questioning is this the right way? I mean, like I said, long, cold winter nights at Turfway Park, running in $5,000 claiming races. I mean, I was there. I mean, I did that, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. But I mean, when you're doing it, you're questioning, is this how you get there? I think things started moving forward for me when I started traveling in the winters. I started going to Oaklawn and then the fairgrounds, and I think things really started going the right way when I started traveling in the winter.
Where do you feel happiest? Where in the country do you feel happiest? Where do you feel most at home?
There's no doubt Churchill Downs is kind of like my I would say like probably what Santa Anita is to Bob Baffert. Churchill, that's where I get my comfort zone with my horses. If I can, send horses out of there, train them the way I feel like, for grade ones, like Covfefe last year, British Idiom, training over that track just gives me a lot of confidence in the afternoons, I guess. Wherever we're running, whether it's, Covfefe, Owendale, a lot of these horses have traveled throughout the country and won several graded stakes. Most of the preparation is done at Churchill. So that's definitely my home. It's where I grew up, but it's a good surface. It's a great track to train on, and we use it as our home base to basically ship out of. We had our Breeders' Cup success out of there last year, and a lot of our horses that run up at Saratoga that do well come right out of Churchill on a plane a couple days before the race and perform well.
Can you remember the first time you went to Churchill Downs ever?
Probably the first time. I think my dad took me to the Derby Museum when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And I can remember, I don't think there was a turf course there at the time. I think, because I can remember my father saying to me, like, they're going to put a turf course in there. I was like, I didn't know, and I was like, what's a turf course? He's like, they're going to run on the grass. And then after that was probably my first memory of actually being at Churchill Downs. And then obviously he would take me out on the weekends a lot, as I got a little bit older. So
and the bug bit.
Yeah, early, really early. But yeah, no, it was. I don't know. I was just fascinated. I would watch like the race replays from like Louisville Downs, which was harness. I really wasn't into harness racing, but I would watch the replays from Louisville Downs, and also Ellis Park of the summer. I would watch a replay show. I don't know, it just stuck out to me. And then obviously the church. My dad would listen to the results, the stretch calls at Churchill Downs on a radio in the kitchen, and I remember that. Just it kind of takes me back to, just hearing it. I don't know. I was just amazed by horse racing. It was just, and it bit me early. I knew that was my goal, was to make a living somehow in the business, somehow, some way.
Was he a big gambler?
No, not big. No, but he loved it. I mean, he was a big Pat Day fan. He kind of Pat Day was the guy back then at Churchill. But no, he was not. He wasn't what you would call a big gambler, but he did keep up with it. I mean, he liked racing, and obviously got me involved in it.
And did you like a bet when you started out?
Early on, yeah, I did a little bit. But I was more, enamored by just the horse itself and the big races. I can remember probably, Little E.T. Back then. I was a big fan of Lure, Paradise Creek, Star of Cozine. Some of those grass horses were neat back then. That kind of, I would watch like that ESPN, like Racing to the Breeders' Cup or whatever. I mean, I was a big fan of all those weekend races that were, televised on national TV. I'd always make sure we could be outside playing basketball or football or whatever it may be. I would definitely come in to watch those on Saturday or Sunday, whenever the big races were.
And how do you wind down? How do you wind down after a stressful day?
I don't. It's tough. I mean, every day is different. There's days where you, expect to run well. I think we had a day last week. I mean, I can't remember which day it was, but, it's tough. I mean, we ran like 5-6 horses. I thought a couple would win. And it was actually Churchill one day last week. And I thought we were just going to have a somewhat decent day, and just nothing clicked that day at all. But, you just wipe it off and just, on to the next day. because I mean that's the thing when you have a stable this size. I mean it's one day it's you can have a rough one, and the next day you just got to rebound and hopefully it'll start going the right way. But actually, back to your question, winding down, I don't know. It's these are long days. I mean, but I love it. I mean, I love every minute of it. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding.
I mean, from what I've seen, but it's hard to tell because you don't know what's going underneath. From what I've seen, you take defeat well. You take it even. Do you go home and dispatch the cat into the yard, or?
Oh man. No, but I have my moments. I guess I've always said great expectation comes with great disappointment. So like, if I'm expecting to run well and I don't, it bothers me. But if we think one may need a race, or it might not be placed properly, it doesn't get to me quite as much, I guess you would say. But I think too, we're probably running 1,000 horses a year now, so I think you do learn to take defeat a little better than as you get defeated more. You lose more. I mean, even if you're winning at 20% in this game, that's still losing 20% of the time. You figure it out.
Brad, I'm sorry, Nick. Sorry. I was going to say, we always talk cocktails on the show. Are you a big cocktail drinker, wine, beer, or you find other ways to relax?
I'll have a glass of wine sometimes.
Okay.
From time to time, red wine. So. Okay. But
very nice.
A beer here or there.
Gotcha. Sorry, Nick, I cut you off.
No, not at all. Mark's going to convert you. This evening, if you want to.
I'm going to try. That's what I've been aiming for throughout the show.
You'll be mainlining mango martinis like Chad.
Oh man.
Talking of which, because it's quite disparate and people train in different parts of the country, how much of a community of trainers is there? How much would you socialize and hang out with other racehorse trainers, or not much?
Honestly, maybe when I was smaller, didn't have as many horses. I mean, there's some people maybe I would hang out with, eat dinner with here and there, but now not too much. I mean, it's kind of all business, especially out at the track. I mean, we stay fairly busy, and it's. I mean, I can't answer for everyone, but I have guys I talk to on the rail all the time. But I mean, as far as going out and having dinner with them, not very many.
And tell me, I'm intrigued to know what it was like to work for Dallas Stewart, because he's just an intriguing man.
Intriguing, intense. I would use intense, very intense. I guess that would be the biggest word. Intense. He's a good horseman though. He's a very, very good horseman. He obviously come up under Wayne, and anybody that hangs out at the racetracks he trains at knows horses always look phenomenal. So, and he's done a good job and has a heck of a resume, and it's accomplished. He's picked off of some Breeders' Cup wins and some big grade ones throughout the country. So, but his horses always look well, and he's a very, very good horseman.
I'm getting the sense that say you had a protege, or say a 16, 17-year-old who came to you and said, I want to go in the deep end and learn a little bit, and you wanted to knock a few edges off them. Would he be somewhere you'd send them?
Yeah.
No, that's the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah, no, he was like I said, he's a good horseman, and he'd teach it, not just about horses, but about what to demand from people in the barn. I think that was a big thing I learned from him. Don't settle for less. I mean, do what's right for your horses, and they'll do right by you.
I mean, the thing that struck me since we started doing this, and it's 20 weeks, and you'd think, well, you should know this by now. You've been working in the game long enough. But essentially, what Mark does and what you do are not that dissimilar. You're in the hospitality business as well. You are trying to entertain. You're trying to keep people engaged. You're trying to keep people, in the game. Mark's trying to keep people in his bar. You're trying to keep people in the sport, and you're trying to entertain and engage with people all the time. How do you find that side of it easy or difficult?
Probably a little difficult for me, honestly. I mean, when I tell you I go to bed early, I'm kind of like in the bed at 8:30, asleep at 9 o'clock. And, I get requests to go out for dinner. And don't get me wrong, if you can get me out, I do enjoy it. Because, there's times I come home and 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it's past my bedtime. But most of the time, I do, think, man, I'm going to pay for this in the morning, but I did enjoy it. So I do enjoy, especially like Saratoga in the summertime, to go out for dinner is always, it's always fun.
And how often would your phone buzz when you're trying to get horses worked in the morning?
Ooh, it's on silent. I can tell you, it's on silent.
Out of necessity.
It stays that way, just to get stuff done. But I try to get back with everyone. I mean, there's a lot going on, but it's what it's what we've created. We like it and we enjoy it, and it's got us in a position to have a weekend like hopefully to be in the position we are in this weekend. Hopefully it works out well. So, probably 8:30, 9 o'clock, it starts rolling pretty good.
Here she is.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I tried to find the best background I can, but I wish I could show you guys the harbor right now because it is stunning, but terrible lighting. Anyways, Brad, how are you?
Great, Brittany. How are you doing?
Doing well. I know they already covered your massive weekend ahead and how busy you are. It's exciting to finally catch up with you and get a moment to do so because I know how busy you are. Yeah,
good seeing you. I wish I was this weekend too. That, as we was talking earlier, that's a fantastic weekend over there.
Oh,
I remember speaking to you before you had your first American Classic runners. Was that 2 years ago when you sent out Owendale, or was that last year?
Last year. Owendale
last year. And and you were talking about just being stabled in that stakes barn alongside Dwayne Lucas and Bob Baffer. I mean, just for the viewers, what was that like for you?
It was amazing. I mean, one side we had Bob and the other side Wayne, and come into the mornings and kind of sit and talk to Wayne and sit for 10, 15 minutes and talk to him, and then it was unbelievable. I mean, it really was just an amazing weekend. We ran well in the races, pleased with how the horses ran, and it was just an experience, honestly, like I'd never had. I'd always heard about the Preakness and just the atmosphere, and it's just different there. It's hard to explain it. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can explain it. You just got to go experience it, and it's an unbelievable. I guess you kind of like party, but it's I don't know. It's a really, really good weekend.
Would you be, back in the day, one of those in the infield fest running on top of the porta-potties?
No, I would have been one of the kids cooling the horses out after the races. That's what I would, or over betting a couple bucks on one of them. That would have been me.
I love it. Well, speaking of Owendale, you got to be looking forward to seeing him run this weekend. Where are the expectations?
I really like the race, the way it looks on paper. He's training extremely well. Johnny Velasquez has the call. He's never rode him, but he's a pretty simple horse to ride. Just keep him involved and keep him out of the. I think sometimes when he runs, if he gets down in tight and can't get out, he just gets a little discouraged. So hopefully he'll get a nice clear trip and he should be effective. He likes the mile. He ran well going a mile and 3/16 last year, so I'm hoping he'll do the same this year.
How do you, and apologies if you already covered this, how do you manage this when you have horses that you're needing to saddle one place, but then you have horses that you have to watch elsewhere? I mean, are you walking around with it on your phone? How does that work?
Well, hopefully Friday and Saturday, obviously I'll be at Keeneland. I try to find a place in the grandstand that'll have a good television. And if not, I have my iPad and my phone. But, when I'm at the races, I'm a guy that watches the races on a TV anyway. So, I would love to be there. Obviously, I can't be two places at once. But, we have a great staff in place that's, obviously got things under control over there.
Yeah, it's all about the team, right?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we typically or normally have four different strings going in. Right now with Pimlico and Keeneland, we're strung out even a little more. But we'll make it work, and all the horses obviously get what they need. And in every spot, you know, the care they need, and you know, the all school, stand in the gate, you know, all the stuff that goes into preparing for a race. So, you know, we don't cut any corners and just try to have them all prepared to the best of our ability and their ability.
Well, you always seem to do so. I think we've got some photos for Mr. Brad Cox. Nick, you think it's appropriate time to bring those in?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
I want to see where it all began for young Brad Cox. How old are you here?
Wow, look at that.
I don't know. I'm going to go with maybe like 4, 5, 6 maybe.
So was it the dream at this age?
I thought you were going to say. I thought Britney was going to say what went wrong, but
well, something went wrong with my barber. Obviously, he forgot to pull out the clippers or the scissors. That's a bad haircut.
But
I love the bow cut.
That's a beautiful child, right? I mean, the modeling career was already well underway then.
Oh wow, there you go. That's 85. I would have been 5 years old.
So give us the story behind this photo.
Well, I know it's at the Derby Museum, the Kentucky Derby Museum at Churchill Downs. I think that may have been like when I told you my first memory of being at Churchill. That may be it. I do remember that a little bit too.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I would say I was 5. I mean, I guess the date's on it. Somebody put the date on it.
Who was holding you? Who was the horse?
I have no clue. I think it was a fake jockey. So.
I wasn't expecting that.
Your dad took you to the backstretch and just gave you to some random and said, "Hey, just hold in for the afternoon."
They used to have a horse they would keep at the Derby Museum, like, you know, just to give tours with or whatever. So I think that was probably part of it.
That's pretty cool. I mean, but I love showing these young photos because, you know, you have 3 children of your own now, which blows my mind. You don't look old enough to have a 21-year-old.
Yeah, Bryson. And he's actually at Keeneland with me now, so that they're involved, and Blake's at Pimlico, so they're involved.
It's such a beautiful family. Tell us a little bit about how they're involved in racing with you and how it's a true like family affair.
Yeah, no, the 2 older boys, I mean, they're very involved. I mean, I think at some point, I mean, you know, they will probably do their own thing, whether it's train, end up in the bloodstock, you know, they like all the different ends of it. I mean, I'm not certain they'll train, but they're a big part of the team right now. And then obviously we got a little Brody. He's 5 now. That picture's a little dated.
Yeah. Your lovely wife gave me the photos and she said, wow. Don't hate me for not having an updated family pic. I said, who has time to take those these days?
Yeah, no, that's Livia with baby Brody. Well, he's not a baby, but he's kind of our baby. He's 5 and he's going to be a bull rider when he grows up. That's what he says he's going to be. So,
really?
Yeah, I don't know. He's the only bull rider that probably won't get on a live horse, but he says he's going to be a bull rider. So who knows?
And do the 2 older boys do they spoil him as they should, or is it a culture shock for them?
No, they're buddies with him. It's kind of neat to watch them. Like they mess with him. They treat him, you know, roughhouse him, and you know, just mess with him, wrestle him and stuff. So they play with him. He loves them. It's pretty neat to watch them interact.
Did you introduce them all at a very young age to the horses? Was it just a part of their upbringing? Yeah, there was this horse. It's funny. When I was, I guess I was probably 20 at the time, we had this horse. This is a quick story. It probably doesn't mean much, but it was kind of cool. Bryson was probably, I guess, 2 at the time, and he's the oldest. And there was this horse. This horse was like, I don't know. It's a really weird story. It was like 1 for 20. The horse's name was Donnie Moe. I don't even know. It felt really weird. So one day we put him up on top of the horse, and
the horse won like his next 3 races, which is, I know it's kind of corny, but we always said,
No.
around the horse. So it was kind of a corny story, but it was kind of cool because the horse ended up winning like his next 3 races, cheap claiming races at like Ellis Park, but it was really neat. So, and I actually think the horse may have even been retired after the 3rd win. Something minor happened to him. They just decided to retire the horse. But after he sat on the horse, he never lost again, I don't think.
So did you just put him on every single horse? Like, has he been on Monomoy Girl?
yeah, no, it's but that was kind of a cool story.
Well, Brittany's brought up Monomoy Girl, so I feel we need to run with it now because the questions have been coming in thick and fast. Just a wonderful comeback this year. How's she getting on?
She's doing fantastic, and she you know, I see it earlier in the year. I was like, this filly's better than she was when she was a 3-year-old. And you know, we had 2 attempts last year in 2019 to bring her back, and we obviously were unsuccessful. But she's definitely turned the corner and improved as an older horse. I think her figures show that. Her workouts of the morning have showed us that. So, you know, she's better than she was as a 3-year-old, and you know, she'll need to be. The other horses she's running against have matured as well. So, just very fortunate, very happy with how she's training right now.
I mean, Brad, that's a big statement considering what she did at 3. You know, her Kentucky Oaks victory. We're looking at her Breeders' Cup Distaff victory. Just when you're watching this, especially because it's under the Twin Spires, that's your home track, your hometown. What was going through your mind as this wire is approaching?
I mean, I thought turning for home, I was like, you know, we're in a good position. I can remember, you know, just a couple weeks, the 2 weeks leading up to that race. Her race before that, she was DQ'd in the Cotillion. So we went straight from the Cotillion to the Breeders' Cup. And, you know, it had been a long year, and I kept thinking to myself, when is this filly going to, is she going to, get tired, not train well? You know, I was waiting for, something, you know, as a trainer, I don't want to sound negative, but I was like, you know, when is she going to go out of form? And it's like she didn't, and she kept training extremely well leading up to the Breeders' Cup, and I had a lot of confidence in her. And for her to get there was just it was an amazing accomplishment to do it there at Churchill. And honestly, it was kind of okay, that's over with. We won a Breeders' Cup race, so it was like, you know, we could always say mark it off. I mean, you know, it was a you know, a great feat, and was very proud of her. And I think it was kind of odd because John Sadler later in the day, I think won his first Breeders' Cup race with Accelerator. And I was like, man, that guy has won a lot of races. And he got it. You know, it's hard to win those races. It's really, really tough. I mean, everything has to go right. They're just extremely tough races to win. And it was an amazing day.
Nick, I think John Sadler was pretty tired of us telling him he was 0 for whatever at that point in time.
I was going to say, did you remind him how many Breeders' Cup races he'd lost? Because we did. 55 times.
I almost hated to bring that up. I don't really know him, but I mean, I kind of felt for the guy because, I mean, he's a accomplished guy with, you know, so many great ones, but had yet to win a Breeders' Cup race. It's tough to win those things.
It ain't easy.
Hey, Britt, Larry Colmus came up with a good line, and I was trying to. When Monomoy Girl won the other day, he said, "Monomoy Girl, she just wins," and it got me thinking: is that she just? Did he mean she just wins a lot of races? Yes, on one level, but Brad, do you think it's more? She just finds a way of getting it done, whatever the circumstance, whatever the race. She has a certain kind of, you know, ruthless efficiency about her that just means she can just win.
Yeah, no, she does. And I mean, I guess it's the run she puts in around the turn to put herself in position. It's just kind of like she does it so easy, and everybody else goes into a full drive and she's just kind of cruising. Now it's obvious, it's pretty clear that once she does get clear, she doesn't do anything extra. And that's the one thing I noticed as a 3-year-old, we would breeze her in company just to get her to get a decent work out of her. We always would have to put her in company to get something out of her. Once she would hit the wire, she would literally a 16th of a mile past the wire, just kind of ease herself up and let the other horse come back to her. That's how she is. I mean, she's true herd animal. I mean, she wants to be around other horses, but she's obviously an unbelievable talent.
She knows exactly what she needs to do. I feel like we need to pause the Monomoy Girl talk because there's so much more to chat about. We'll get a drink in and then we'll get back to Monomoy Girl. Mark, what do you have for us?
Well, guys, we've got so much great racing coming up, and a big part of race day experiences, whether we're watching it on TV right now or hopefully when we can get back to the stands to watch them in person, is of course the celebration, sort of the party aspect. I know we've been alluding to the infield, but a big part of that is the race day cocktails. So that's a huge reason why at Breeders' Cup we focused on coming up with our 2 official cocktails, the Garland and the Tory Cup, which I'm so proud to have been a part of. But of course, we've got well-known cocktails for all the other big races. Kentucky Derby has had the mint julep pretty much forever. At Belmont Stakes, there were many kind of different names and different incarnations of that drink. The first one was actually the white carnation. So again, alluding to the flowers that are draped over winning horses. And then eventually it became the Belmont Breeze and then the Belmont Jewel. Now, the Preakness has always had the Black-Eyed Susan. Again, this beautiful theme of flowers draped over winning horses. The thing that's different there is the name has stayed the same, but that's almost the only thing that stayed the same. The Black-Eyed Susan has gone through many, many different iterations, made it slightly challenging for me this week trying to decide which one I was going to present to you. But the main kind of constant elements are vodka and orange juice, and then you typically have some sort of secondary liquor. This makes it kind of interesting. So sometimes bourbon would find its way into the mix. Sometimes rum would. Sometimes you would have an orange liqueur. You would always have orange juice. Sometimes there was pineapple juice. Sometimes there was sour mix. All sorts of different options.
What would be your favored secondary liquor?
So I like doing it with rum because, as I was mentioning to you early in the show, when I looked at some of these elements, and especially the fact that it's always served on crushed ice, it made me think this is essentially a tiki cocktail. And I love tiki cocktails. And I was talking to Nick about this. Essentially, that whole trend goes back to the late 1930s and 1940s in Oakland, California. We have exciting sort of history there. You've got dueling restaurateurs, Trader Vic and Don the Beachcomber, who were so secretive with their recipes that sometimes their own bartenders didn't even know what they were mixing into the drinks. But when I looked at some of the elements of the Black-Eyed Susan with rum, I said, this is essentially a tiki cocktail. So that's what I'm going to show you how to make today, a great fresh version of the Black-Eyed Susan. We're going to do it for one cocktail, and we'll see if we can figure out the recipe for a pitcher. I know some of our guests were asking.
I'm with Jennifer Cook here because when I hear tiki, I don't think Baltimore. And she said the same thing. I mean, tiki and Baltimore just go together.
You know, these days, tiki is finding its place everywhere in the world. You know, I know it's not necessarily what we think of when we think of certain areas, whether it's the Northeast or Baltimore. But the truth is, everybody needs a refreshing cocktail, some crushed ice, a little exotic kind of fresh juices. There's nothing wrong with that. So one thing that's pretty common in these tropical drinks, there are probably people that are going to feel like I'm veering this too much towards tropical, but that's just what I saw in the cocktail. One thing is that we tend to have a lot of layers of flavor, so a lot of different ingredients, but it comes together in harmony. So we do need a fair amount of stuff that's going to go into my version of the Black-Eyed Susan. We're going to need lemon juice, simple syrup. So that essentially makes up a fresh sour mix. So if you ever see sour mix called for in a recipe, don't bother going to the store to get that pre-made stuff that's been sitting there for years. It's just equal parts fresh lemon juice and the simple syrup that you guys are pros with that at this point. So we're going to need those two elements. We're going to need some juices, pineapple and orange. And then we're going to add some triple sec, rum, and vodka. So a lot to do here.
Yeah.
A lot to do. We're going to get started with our simple syrup. So again, you guys are pros here, equal parts sugar and water. I would say out of the 23 episodes that we've done, I've used simple syrup probably in at least 18 of them, something like that. It's not that everything's sweet. It's just a great universal ingredient. So we are going to do half an ounce of simple syrup. And what we're going to do is directly into a nice kind of highball glass like this. Now, I know this seems kind of different than what I would usually do. Usually we'd be shaking it up in a cocktail shaker, but I'm going to show you a different way of mixing this cocktail that's actually very, very traditional for these tropical style drinks. And it's a great tool to kind of have in your belt. So we're going to balance out that sweetness now with some fresh lemon juice. So the same amount, we're going to do half an ounce, again, directly into the glass. And especially when we're talking about multiple ingredients like this in a complicated cocktail, this is when it's really important to start with your least expensive ingredients and build your way up. I always say do that just in case you make a mistake. You're not going to be throwing out the expensive stuff. And in a cocktail like this, 6, 7 ingredients, you could lose track if you're not paying attention. And it happens to the best of us, definitely to me. All right, so we're going to add some other juices. Pineapple juice, we're going to do 1.5 ounces. You can do this fresh if you have a juicer at home, but don't worry about using canned pineapple juice. All right.
Looking good, Nick.
And now we're going to do the same amount. So 1.5 ounces of fresh orange juice as well. Nick is keeping track of all these different ingredients. All right, so that is the non-alcoholic element here. Now we're going to add on the fun stuff. Now, this is kind of a good point. The fact that the Black Eyed Susan calls for 2 different spirits, you may see this more and more in cocktail menus. Maybe there's some tequila in there. Maybe there's also a little bit of whiskey. When you're splitting the base for the liquor, what you're doing is essentially you're keeping the strength of the cocktail in the whole ratio. You're kind of keeping that the same, but each different spirit gives its own sort of flavor and essence to the cocktail. So that's an interesting way to kind of throw up some variations to your cocktails. Take that same ratio, that same part of spirit, and try mixing different spirits into that base. And that's essentially what we're doing in this Black Eyed Susan.
The producers just want more of Nick on the show.
Yeah.
They're trying to make you big, Mark, but they can't do it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
A little challenging.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to add 1/2 ounce of triple sec. So just to recap here, guys, we've got 1/2 ounce simple syrup, 1/2 ounce lemon juice, 1.5 ounces each orange juice and pineapple juice. Now 1/2 ounce of our triple sec, and we're going to do 1 ounce of rum. We're going to save the best for last here, our Tito's. We're almost there, guys. I promise.
How many Black Eyed Susans do you reckon you could take in one sitting, Mark?
I think I could pull off 3, but I probably wouldn't try to exceed that. You also have some sugar in there. That's another sort of side effect with rum cocktails. There's oftentimes a lot of sugar in the mix, so you do have to be careful with that. They'll catch up.
Wow.
All right, guys.
Sounds like a headache waiting. Robert wants to know how many you can have on an entire 12-race card.
Wow. Well, I feel like I know Robert at this point, and I think he's he's got some fortitude to him. So I think he could probably handle 3 or 4 in there. But you do have to pace them out, I think.
True.
All right, so guys, what we're going to do now is, again, we didn't put this into a cocktail shaker. What we want to do is take some crushed ice. Now, again, if you have a refrigerator with that feature, it's great just to put it into a Ziploc bag and store that in your freezer. If not, you can always put regular ice cubes directly into sort of a Ziploc bag or a canvas sack if you have it, and just hit it with something heavy like a rolling pin, or even the back of a spoon works well to crack the ice. So now what I want to do is actually put 1 scoop of crushed ice, maybe a little bit more, into our glass, and I'm going to show you a technique called swizzling. Now, swizzling is kind of unique. I know this is completely new. Unique to
23 episodes, and now you.
I feel like we swizzled before.
I swizzled a little bit on the mint julep. I like doing it with crushed ice. Basically, this is the motion. I'm going to try to avoid saying anything that Nick is going to raise his eyebrows at here. But essentially, you want to put the spoon into the glass, and we're going to put the spoon between our palms and just swizzle back and forth. So you're rolling your palms, and what this is going to do is it's going to start chilling your glass and really get that crushed ice to start diluting the cocktail as well, because remember, we're not shaking or stirring this ahead of time, so we do need that dilution. All right, so that's a good swizzle. Yep. And now we're going to go ahead and top this off with more crushed ice. So this is really
a great horse name. Brad, you could train a horse named Swizzle.
I have a horse named Swill.
Swill? Swill's a good one.
Yeah.
Still cocktail theme there. All right, now we really want to get our crushed ice. Anytime I do a drink with crushed ice, your goal is to get it to almost come above the top of the glass. So really, really nice and frosty. And now it's always fun to do some great garnishes. That's a big part of tropical cocktails. So here I have a pineapple frond. I'm going to stick inside some orange and cherry. All right.
It's an underrated word, that, isn't it? Frond.
It is.
A word that we should hear more of and rarely do.
Swizzle? Yes.
So, pineapple frond.
All right. So, guys, a very, very full Black Eyed Susan. Cheers, guys.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's very fitting, of course. Very fitting for the weekend. Got Bonnie South.
Really, really refreshing. It doesn't taste as strong as it is. So, again, be careful with them. But it's a great, great version of this classic race day cocktail.
Mark Tuberty, ladies and gentlemen, he'll be back when he's recovered from his diabetic coma.
I mean, easy segue there, though. I mean, Brad, you've got, we could talk about all your runners coming up this weekend, but that would just take hours, and we won't make you do that. But Bonnie South, I mean, she's coming into this race, looks like a very formidable runner against the rest of that field, and you got your main man Flo in the irons. He's a whole separate topic because you guys have had so much success together. But what do you think about Bonnie and the female version of the Preakness?
I really like her. She's doing extremely well. We've taken our time with her this year. She earned the right to run in the Kentucky Oaks, and we talked it over with the Juddmonte team, Garrett O'Rourke, and just, thought off the Alabama, going a mile and a quarter, big effort back in 20 days against what we thought was a stacked group of 3-0 fillies in the Kentucky Oaks. Thought the best thing for her would be to give her the time and come back in a mile and an eighth. It's a little bit softer group, and she's training extremely well. So I expect her to run really, really well. Florent knows her. He was able to win the Fairgrounds Oaks on her. He was unable to ride her in the Ashland because he was riding Monomoy in the Ruffian, and then obviously he couldn't go to Saratoga because of the COVID restrictions. So I rode her that day and did a fantastic job on her. So I think she's set up for a big effort. I really, really do. I really like this filly. She's really grown this summer. I mean, she's gotten bigger, stronger, and just really looking forward to the race on Saturday with her.
We did have a question earlier about riders that you enjoy working with. Obviously, Florent, you've had tremendous success with. What is it you admire about him particularly?
I mean, we just get along really well. I was thinking back the other day. I mean, he rode 2 grass horses for me, like in December, may have even been November. Like I would have to look back, maybe like 5-6 years ago at the fairgrounds, and I think he just left Chicago. He hadn't ridden in Kentucky at all, and I think that may have been the winter. He started riding Chocolate Ride, and was able to win a graded stake on him. And I don't know. He's just we just clicked. I mean, his riding. His style of riding, kind of front end on the dirt, really kind of fits our style of training. We like to be forwardly placed in a lot of our races. I mean, it depends on the horse, but we always, try to see if a horse has speed and, what they can do with it. And he seems to get it. And just we have a good rapport. And, he hangs out at our barn a lot. I mean, he knows all the grooms and the assistants. And it makes for a good team. Everything works really well.
So how much of an influence, I would assume a lot, do you have in making the decision of where he's going to ride this weekend? Because obviously he's riding a ton for you here, but he rode She Dares the Devil, who's running in the Spinster. So do you have an influence on that? Is it his agent, him? How does that work?
Yeah. No, we talk it over. Me, him, and his agent, Doug Breder. I mean, we'll sit down, maybe couple weeks in advance, and honestly, once Pimlico released their stake schedule, and obviously this year's it's a little different story with the restrictions on the COVID. I mean, he and a couple of the other guys that are going over to ride from Kentucky are very fortunate, I guess, to have had COVID. As crazy as that may sound,
right?
Given the fact they can ride at Keeneland tomorrow, go to Pimlico Saturday, and then come back and ride at Keeneland on Sunday, where a lot of these guys are having a 72-hour quarantine, 2 negative tests, and once they leave, some racetracks are giving them, I think they have to have 2 negative tests after they leave. So, that's about the craziest thing you could say, but it actually is going to work in these guys' favor this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, to follow up on that, each jurisdiction has different rules, but yes, for Pimlico, if you had COVID and you have the positive test from it within 10 to 90 days, you were allowed to ride. So yes, worked in Flo's favor in that sense. If you think of it like that, but you can tell that you guys have a great rapport together, and I'm sure being friends and having that connection probably helps on race day too. It's almost like you just know what each other wants.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's rode so many first-time starters for me. I mean, he knows the game plan going in, and he obviously works a lot of the horses of the morning. So, it goes both ways, and he knows. He knows what we're expecting and what we're looking for from each individual horse.
Interesting. Yeah.
Can we get back to Monomoy? I'm sorry, I'm a fan girl.
Absolutely.
Well, because I know you seem to keep things pretty close to the vest, but she brings out quite a bit of emotion in you, and I could only guess as to why. But what do you feel that she's done for you personally and for your career?
I mean, she's a. I say this. She's a horse of a lifetime. I mean, she really is. I mean, I mean, what she's accomplished, and you know, with her missing all that time and being able to come back and win a Grade 1 at the age of 5, I mean, just makes it. It's just unbelievable. I mean, she's to most of these fillies. I mean, it's tough to win multiple Grade 1s, but for her to do it, and you know, with a year and a half layoff in between, just you know, once again shows you the true champion she is. And she's obviously my first Grade 1 winner. I mean, that's someone told me, it's like, you know, you can win nice races, but until you win graded stakes, it's like drinking different wine. It tastes different. It does. And then when you I think it took us maybe like 4 years after we won our first graded stake to finally win that first Grade 1, and she gave it to us. You were there when we won the Ashland, and it was like, it's unbelievable. And you prepare so hard. And, you know, I know that day she opened up at like maybe 4 or 5 down the lane, and I was just like, hurry up, wire, you know, just get past the wire. And she did it. And she means the world to me. She's so special. And you know, I don't know what these guys' plans are. I mean, I kind of think you know, if she was to run well, there's a possibility. I think she could come back and race again next year. And I mean, it would be amazing if she could. But you know, that'll ultimately be up to the group of guys that own her, that, you know, deserve so much credit for keeping her in training. I mean, you know, I would have last September when she just wasn't quite right. I was kind of thinking this is probably it, but you know, they immediately said, you know, well, we'll just give her some time, and maybe we can see if you know, we can bring her back once more, and if not, then they can breed her. And it's just like I said, time and time again. I mean, you know, they're true sportsmen, show their sportsmanship as far as keeping her in racing.
Brad, when the news came out today that Midnight Bisou, with whom she's locked horns so many times, was retired, did you feel a little pang there because of the sort of inextricable association of the two great mares? Yeah,
you know, I would have liked to form the hookup again. I really did, because it would have been great for racing. I mean, you know, they're two champions, bottom line. And I mean, they've duked it out a few times, and it was always exciting. They were always right there together. So I think it would have been extremely exciting to have went into the Breeders' Cup, you know, with both of them in good form. And I think it may have been the race of the Breeders' Cup, you know, the matchup of the Breeders' Cup, to be honest. But, you know, it's unfortunate, but, you know, that filly or mare has accomplished so much, and you know, she's a true champion. And you know, the way she ran in Saudi, and then to come back, and she's a true champion. She's going to be missed.
Oh, for sure.
You can hear the respect. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's when we ran against her. I mean, it was like, you know, is she going to get the upper hand this time? You know, is she going to get biased? I mean, you know, you always worried about her. I mean, there was no doubt about it. I mean, and for you know, her camp to keep her in form for as long as they did was just a, you know, remarkable job between obviously Steve and Jeff Bloom and Madigan.
Well, the same could be said for Monomoy Girl. I'm just looking at her kind of her wins, and I think I said this to you before she won in the La Troyenne. She has crossed the wire first in every single race since February of 2018.
Amazing.
And I get that there was a break in between there, but that's remarkable. Her consistency over the years.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It is amazing what she's been able to put together in her career and how dominant she's been. But she's, yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, leading up to the Breeders' Cup in 2018, it was just like, man, how can a horse keep doing this? Like, how can she keep, you know, breezing every week and responding the way she is and showing up on race day was just, I almost needed to pinch myself at times. I mean, it was like a dream. I mean, it really was. And, you know, she's given us a little more of that this year. I mean, she's undefeated this year with you know, what she's been able to accomplish is remarkable. And, you know, I think our decision on not running into Spencer came down to she's really responded well with 8 weeks between races and responded with some lifetime best figures. So, it's the right thing for her. I would love to win the Spencer. I hope we can Sunday with She Dares the Devil, but it would have been nice to have run Monomoy there, but I just didn't feel it was the thing for her. And that's what it's all about, it's her.
Well, let's go back to that moment that gave you that first grade 1 victory, the better wine that you say you're drinking and you want to keep drinking it. That was April 7th of 2018. And yes, I was there. This was a special moment for me too. Let's listen to it.
Brad Cox gets his first grade 1 victory, and that was in scintillating fashion by Monomoy Girl. I had my eye on you, and you kept it all internalized the entire time. What does this moment mean to you?
Can't describe it. Unbelievable. Want to just thank the owners. Seemed like it took a long time to get here, but it's worth it. It's awesome. It's unbelievable.
What do you have to say about your girl?
Get ready for the Oaks. This is what she was training like this. I mean, she was doing unbelievable. Florent did a good job. I mean, this morning I walked the track. I mean, the track's fast. I said, look, take it to him. She's a good filly. She's got speed. Take it to him, and if they can come catch me if you can. The last race, I don't know what happened. It is what it is, but I like to be close. She's got speed, and it worked out great. I'm so proud of her, and I'd like to thank the owners for the opportunities, trusting us with her, and this is crazy. I mean, we put this plan together in November, and so far so good. It's awesome.
It all worked out. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
And off to the Oaks.
Yeah. So, but it was an amazing day. It was cold that day. As you could tell by my
I think it snowed around that day.
Yeah, it snowed the night before. We actually didn't train that morning on the main track. It snowed on it. They decided to cancel training, which was a great move because we had a great track that day. So, but it was very cold that weekend.
The beauty of her is that we can keep enjoying her, God willing, for a little while yet.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw Covfefe a couple of times last year, I felt we were just scratching the surface of a monstrous talent. How big a hole did she leave for you when she went off to pastures new?
It was tough for her to for him to retire her. I mean, she was an amazing talent, and like you said, I mean, I think this year she would have been dominant in that division. I really, really do believe that. But listen, they have a plan. They had a plan in place, and she fit the bill. She was added to their broodmare band. I mean, she's bred to Constitution. I found out yesterday. I heard that she's carrying a filly, so that's fantastic. I don't know if they'll sell, but if they don't, I'll definitely have a stall if I'm the chosen trainer.
Jamie Roth, are you listening?
Yeah, I hope so. But
I've heard you're shortlisted.
But no, she was an unbelievable filly. I mean, we loved her from like day one. I can remember breezing her as a 2-year-old at Keeneland, and I mean, she was so rapid. I was like, "Whoa, this thing is fast!" And Chris Alexander from the McCaffins sent her and said, "This is a rocket." And she was a rocket, and she was an amazing filly with just, I mean, the most beautiful face and beautiful eye, and just had such a personality. I mean, she was all business in the afternoons. It was so funny. She was a sweet filly, but it was so funny after her races. She'd get real territorial. She didn't want you near her after races for a couple hours. She was just like, she had to, just kind of cool down a little bit. But what an unbelievable, amazing filly.
She transcended sports.
Yeah.
She made the news. How much fun was that to be a part of?
Yeah, the world news. So it was really neat.
Cool horse. I mean, those are tough to replace, but it seems like your team always has some new up and coming talented runners to keep their eyes on. We should ask one of these questions. I think somebody was asking, who do you have coming up in the barn that you're liking? Oh, Gord Walker wants to know, who do you think are your best chances at the Breeders' Cup this year?
And Brittany, there's another one here from Wayne Montgomery who says, Brad, give us a long shot who may do better than expected at the Breeders' Cup. So they are kind of interrelated questions, yeah.
Okay. As far as the best shot at the Breeders' Cup victory, I mean, you'd have to go with Monomoy Girl on the distaff. as of right now. But we'll see what happens when she dares the devil. And I think it's kind of tough right now. I think this is going to be the weekend that tells us how our Breeders' Cup's going to shape up if we go on to dance the next dance, or we find out if we're good enough. This is going to be a big weekend for us. As far as a couple young horses, I mean, we're gonna have a few this weekend. Starting tomorrow with Travel Column. She's a talented frosted filly that won first time out. Excited about her in the Alcibiades. And then on Saturday we have Essential Quality as a Tappet colt. It's won first time out. Both of similar form. Obviously, one's a colt, one's a filly. One both going short. We stretched them out, so it's a big ask. But if they're as good as we're hoping they are, I mean, they have to step up to the plate and earn their right to the Breeders' Cup. So that's what we're hoping happens over the next couple of days.
Yeah. Right in your backyard, almost. Are you happy to have it back at Keeneland? I
am. When it was there the last time, obviously we didn't have anything in it, but I really do enjoy it being in California. I mean, obviously we won 2 out there last year, so I'm gonna like it between British Idiom and Covfefe. But Santa Anita's nice. I mean, I really do like it. I mean, Kentucky's home, but when it was. We had a fantastic time out there last year. I think we shipped 7 horses, and it was just the morning training. I mean, Santa Anita is an unbelievable place. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite. I'm not going to say my favorite because I have like Churchill's and Keeneland mean a lot to me, but I mean, Santa Anita's right there with them. I love Santa Anita. It's an amazing facility, and it's I mean, I don't think there's any better place to train a horse as far as the scenery. I see why Bob likes it out there. It's an unbelievable place with fantastic weather.
Well, we got Brad Cox for the West. We've been having this East versus West sort of thing going along the show of, multiple episodes. So I needed somebody behind me for the West.
Yeah, no, it's in Del Mar, obviously. It's a fantastic place. And, I was able to go to Del Mar. I didn't have anything running, but I had a couple on the undercard when Breeders' Cup was out there last time. So that was a fantastic setup for it as well.
I see many Breeders' Cups to come with Brad Cox runners and winners. No doubt about that.
Sure hope so.
Brad, thanks so much for chatting to us today. And thanks for giving up your time, because I know it's precious. It's not like you haven't got quite a lot on your plate, and we'll see you very soon. Just the 27 runners this weekend. Fair return is what? 10, 12 winners, something like that.
I'd be happy with that. I appreciate it. I almost feel like I won a Breeders' Cup race. Normally when I'm talking to you guys, it's after a Breeders' Cup victory. so this is like the next best thing.
I'm always trying to make Brad cry. It's like my goal. But I'm like, Monomoy Girl, I feel like she's helping me out.
And the thing is, Britney, I succeed in making Brad cry because all he's thinking is, why didn't I get Britney interviewing me?
I shouldn't admit that, though. I try and make everybody cry after. I'm like, let's get that emotion.
You're good at it.
Oh God.
Man, Brad, thank you so much. Tell your lovely wife thank you for sending those photos, and good luck with all of your runners.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on. I had a blast.
Cheers, Brad.
Always.
It
was so fun chatting with him.
Such a nice guy.
I mean, it seems like he takes it all in stride too. To be that busy, I would be running around, like a chicken with my head cut off.
I freak out if I get more than like 2 text messages at once. So I don't know how he does 27. I would silence my phone also, I think.
Mark, that does not surprise me about you.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
All right, final cocktail of the night. Bring it on.
Yes. So first, I should probably amend what I said before. That Black Eyed Susan went down so fast. I'm going to up it. Robert, I'm going to take myself up to 4. Super, super refreshing. And I never got to scaling it up for pitchers. So I did want to talk about that briefly. So we had a question, Brittany, earlier about what we do if we want to take some of these cocktails like the Black Eyed Susan and prepare it for large batches. So I find the best thing to do is, I'm always saying an ounce of this or a half ounce of that. The best thing you can do is think about it as parts. So 1 part of vodka, 1 part rum, half parts, triple sec. And if you do it like that, you can choose, basically take your total quantity that you want and just divide that by your number of parts and kind of figure out the specs from there. So for instance, we've got 1 part Tito's, 1 part, I'm looking at my cheat sheet here, 1 part rum, half a part triple sec, 1.5 parts pineapple juice, and so on and so forth. If we assign maybe 6 ounces as a part, you can figure everything out from there. So that would be 3 ounces for triple sec, 9 ounces for pineapple juice. what's great about that, and you know this from the last demo. Yeah, the last demo I went on for quite a bit, and that is a huge argument for batching, so that you're not back behind your table or bar, really just spending the whole afternoon mixing.
Would you batch every day? At work?
At work, not so much, because it does. I'm always saying that things like citrus juices need to be as fresh as possible. That's the reason why we can't do that behind a professional bar as much. So if you're having people over to your house and you know that basically they're all going to be having the cocktails that night, there's no harm in batching, because the lemon or lime juice is not going to sit for that long. So it's still going to be optimal. If we tried to do that at the bar, there's a good chance that we may have some waste at the end of the day, because you don't know exactly how much you're going to go through. So it's a great question.
So you batch in the privacy of your own company?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, actually, one of the things, I think I mentioned this, I love to do something like an old fashioned or a Negroni or a Manhattan or even martinis. And I'll actually batch it in a big bowl. And then what I'll do is I'll pour it back into the liquor bottle that I poured from, and then stick that in the freezer, maybe 45 minutes before guests arrive. So as soon as they walk in, I'm pouring the glasses. We give them a little tour of the apartment that you guys know better than I do at this point. But it's very, very fast and very streamlined. So kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier, Nick. Yeah.
If they're non-English speakers, do you give them a headset to translate as you guide them around?
It's fantastic. It's like Grand Central Terminal. They kind of find out facts as they go along, and but anyway, so that's
le bar.
It's available in different languages. My wife does speak fluent Spanish, so we can always translate for people. But that is kind of the rundown on if you want to batch your cocktails. Great for a cocktail like the Black Eyed Susan, which really was delicious. But you don't want to go through the legwork of having to do that every time you're making a drink. So moving on to our second cocktail of the night, Brittany, I'm trying to remember for which parts you were here or where you weren't, but Nick asked me earlier, he said, how many of these cocktails that we make each week do I typically have around the house? Like, will I randomly kind of make myself one of these sort of, creative cocktails? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But the ones that really stick with me are ones that I always reach back for. So if I am entertaining guests, I say that's one that I love. And the drink that we're about to make is one of those examples. I actually came up with it at the 21 Club, and we were trying to come up with seasonal fall cocktails, and I knew I wanted to do a riff on the whiskey sour, but I didn't know exactly what ingredients I wanted to feature. So I kind of do sort of what chefs do. I'm not trying to compare myself to that level, but I go to the grocery store and try to just pair different flavors and get ideas of how to elevate those cocktails. So this pairing
I
of
wish
Blackberry,
I had the ingredients, because this one, when I saw it, it sounds delicious.
Thank you.
Right up my alley.
Yeah. It's really delicious. Again, because of the sage especially, it's such a strong, powerful herb. But when you use it in just the right amount, I mean, it just transforms the cocktail. So we can really dive right in here. I know a lot of our viewers probably saw the episode where we did the whiskey sour itself. And of course, we brought that back to life when we did the New York sour, just with a little difference with that red wine float. But we're going to kind of bring it back now with some seasonal flavors that we're going to add. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to, you guessed it, we're going to muddle. So I'm going to add...
Gentle muddle or a forceful muddle?
Great question. This is going to be a rigorous muddle. This is going to be a gentle muddle all around, because we are using our herbs here. But with blackberries, they're so soft that you don't need to give it like a crazy, if you're maybe muddling strawberries, for instance, there's a little bit more resilience. So I would typically put the strawberries in first, muddle it forcefully, and then I would add my herbs, which I want to be a little bit more delicate. In this case, the blackberries really kind of just mush underneath your muddler. So I'm going to go ahead and save a little time, and I'm going to do 2 pieces of sage along with the 4 blackberries directly in the mixing tin here. And I'm going to give it, again, a gentle muddle. You do want to extract the juices from the blackberries, but basically by the time you do that, you've already properly muddled the sage as well. So that was enough, just really, really fast, just enough to get the juices out of the blackberries. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. On that note, we are going to now build our classic whiskey sour. So if you're learning the cocktails, these classics along with us, you can do this. Just find flavors that you love, find things that are seasonal, walk around your grocery store, say that would be good with this could be fun, and give it a try. But it's a great argument for learning the classics first. So let's go ahead and add 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice. And we're going to balance that, of course, with our simple syrup. Again, 3/4 of an ounce. I know.
But
That's
it's
why-
helpful to know that it's used in so many different cocktails.
Yeah.
Make some and then just stash it.
That's what it is. And that's why I recommend, even, and we've spoken about this before, even if you're not going to use it all the time, so you don't want to do a 1-to-1 syrup. We spoke about this last week. You guys now know what a 2-to-1 syrup is. So a rich, simple syrup, it lasts twice as long. So really, it is worth investing some time and not investing the money, because again, simple syrup in the grocery store will cost you $10 for a bottle, and all it is sugar and water. So this is absolutely one. Maybe Nick, one of these days, I'm gonna call you before the show. We're gonna make all of this stuff ahead of time, and I want to get you shaking up a cocktail again. Maybe no egg whites this time.
I'm up for doing a bit of home brewing.
All right.
Next
Sounds
week,
good.
why don't next week we all three make the cocktail together?
Is there
Sounds good.
is there a special way you hold that glass? You always hold it between the middle finger
Yeah.
and the forefinger. Why is that?
That-
So you're
It's
always
funny
keeping-
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because so before I became a professional bartender, and even once I got these jobs, I learned a lot from online videos, right? And one thing that I hated was that no one ever spoke about exactly what you just asked me. And so it's hard for me to get an answer. Essentially, every bartender has their own style with jiggers. It really doesn't necessarily matter so much the way that you're holding it, as long as you're able to pour it, directly into the thing. But this is kind of a flair thing to do it backhanded. So if I hold it between my middle finger and my index finger, what's nice is I can quickly, with the, tip it backwards and then do it basically perpendicular. Yeah. But you know what?
This is kind of like the tic tac that was happening the other day.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a flourish, Mark, isn't it?
It's a flourish, yeah. But you know what? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, because again, that's something that I had that same question when I watched other bartenders. I wanted to be like, well, why are you doing it like that? And so there are different styles of these measuring devices, which are called jiggers. There are different styles of them, and with each particular style, there's maybe a way of holding it that's easier or that flows a little bit more. But essentially, you're right, Nick. It's kind of like a little bit of flair, a little bit of flourish.
So you just slide the jigger in between the middle finger and the forefinger, and then
Yep, little back. Exactly.
That's a great name for a horse. Flair and flourish.
Flourish. So let's do our
Flair.
2 ounces of Maker's Mark. This is the end of my bottle here. And let's do our little flourish right there. Okay. So that's pretty much it, guys. We're going to go ahead and shake this cocktail together. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, this is one that we're going to want to fine strain. You guys probably already know the reason for that. We've got muddled bits of blackberry. We've got the sage, which is going to infuse our cocktail with flavor, but we don't want all those little bits and pieces in the glass.
nah.
So
I love this. Jeff Hall says, next date, I'm trying the flourish.
yeah,
It'll work,
just those
Jeff.
little things. Yeah, you get those basics down and then just try to have some fun with it. Again, the only workout I'm getting in quarantine. So God knows what would happen without cocktails and conversation.
Seriously. I'd be having less wine. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I don't have any because I rushed into my Clown's Triple wants to know where's my drink. Well, rushed into the hotel room, and they're not serving any food or drink at the hotel.
No. I'm actually really impressed with how quickly you reset.
They're not.
Because-
They're not serving any food or drink at the hotel.
No, that was
Why not?
not the most enjoyable news. I got one coming in because
Oh,
I love
Goodness.
just ordering food and bringing it up to the room usually the night before the show just to fully focus. But
So where are you supposed to eat?
there's a ton of restaurants around here, Grubhub,
Yeah, I
walking
know that, but
distance.
I mean, like, what? But so there's nothing in the hotel at all.
No, nothing.
Oof.
Wow.
It's going to be a long night. That's rough.
What's funny is I just had a friend text me and saying that she's legit hangry. I get hangry big time when I don't eat.
I think we all do, Brittany. So guys, we fine strained that cocktail. Again, you don't want any little bits of blackberry or sage. And now, as we always do with our herbs when we garnish, you're going to take that, you already know, not slap the mint, slap the sage.
That
There you go.
me.
Yep. All
Very
right, so look at this. Hopefully you can see it.
Ah,
Beautiful color.
Yeah.
So this is a great variation on the whiskey sour. Again, just pairing seasonal flavors. Great questions on the part of both of you guys. These are little things about bartending. You just kind of pick up as you go. But essentially, I was in the same spot a lot of our viewers are just passionate about this stuff, interested, just loving having a good, well-made cocktail made with love. And then you pick up all the rest as you go.
I love it. Beautiful.
Amazing what you can learn from an online video, isn't it?
It is. These days, yeah.
Or this online show. There's a lot to take away from Cocktails and Conversations. Speaking of, it is Preakness weekend. The final leg of the Triple Crown is finally upon us. It sounds crazy to say because normally it's the 2nd and it's in May, but we are in October and it is the final leg, and I think we're all just thrilled to be here. But it is worth reminiscing about Preakness with Nick Luck in the infield. Let's take a look.
I'm going to grab my drink for this.
Lots of anticipation.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago in Kentucky.
Well, this is going to take a while.
With a surreal scene at Churchill.
Yeah. We didn't fast forward.
Following claims of foul in the Derby. And
it's a full 2.5 hour show.
That's a victory away from maximum security and gave it to the 65-1 long shot.
Company.
Nick, any idea when this is?
No idea.
A Preakness field here in Baltimore that does not include either of
58.
those two horses. But that
58 minutes
the big
in.
names of the sport are sitting this one out. Bob Baffert is back with the top.
There we go.
Is on my Surface laptop. It's very powerful and just speeds up your whole day. I always have at least 4 or 5 programs.
You're also going to get a little commercial
everywhere.
Bear with us, friends. Bear with us.
So I need a long battery life. It feels weird to be on this
This is
side
going to
of
be
the
a
camera,
massive
for sure.
disappointment, isn't it?
I don't think it'll be disappointing.
This is my first time at the Preakness. They told me it was like a big deal, so I brought my tea and my scones and thought that I'd entertain while I was up here. And I've got to say, I'm not disappointed so far. Hi, I'm Nick.
I'm Addison.
I'm from England.
You're from England? I'm from America. That's awesome.
Have you seen a horse today?
I actually have not seen a single horse race.
And have you sailed here today?
We're docked here in the Baltimore Harbor.
Are you the leading seaman?
Yes, I'm the sailor.
What kind of ship is it?
It's the USS Let's Get Drunk.
Would you like to taste my tea?
When in doubt, pinky's out.
You got it.
I think this is where I do point out those were actual fans. Those were not actors. Those were true answers. Nick, welcome to Baltimore. You've also found one of the VIPs who's hanging out.
My goodness. That is awesome.
Oh, Nick, I'm going to miss you so much this weekend. Miss the people as well, but miss you.
I don't know how I got away. I don't know how I quite got
Nick, can we make it that, like, if your video feed cuts out for whatever reason, that cartoon is what stays on the screen while you reconnect? Because on Zoom or like those conferencing sites that happens, we need that default picture of Nick that just comes up.
I wish somebody would send it to me as an illustration.
Yeah.
Put it in the house.
Oh, I'm sure we could get that.
Oh dear, oh dear.
That was great. Well, you will sorely be missed this weekend, as will all the fans in the infield not seeing horses.
If you go to, hang on a minute, if you actually want to see a full flavor of what the infield's like, because you sent me this clip earlier on, and I looked. If you go to about 3 or 4 minutes in, or whatever, Britney throws to me. If you cue that up, and you'll see. That was
the first time we said hello to you.
Yeah, and you'll just see how insane that infield is of what it's really like, and you didn't have to contrive it too much to find the people there. So I don't know if you can find it and show it, but I don't know. Jordan might have gone to sleep by now, so it's entirely. But I know she's there.
Hi, Jordan.
She's definitely there. Yeah.
She wanted to show you that she's very much awake.
Well, she's looking that up. I'll give everybody a chance to tune in this weekend. So the Preakness will be at 4:30 on NBC, but we also have, as you heard, great racing from both Pimlico and Keeneland on Friday and Sunday at 5 o'clock on NBC Sports Network. You can check all of that. Oh, look at me matching.
Yeah, you look great though.
I had chopsticks on my head. I liked that outfit. But look at how busy. So that was the infield tent. And, the who's who of racing in there, some really great food, beverages. And then we get to Nick Luck. Oh, yeah. From the posh party to the people's party. We need the sound on this. That's insane. Hi, Jordan.
Wow.
Any sound?
I don't think so. But look at that. Oh, look at those gentlemen with their suits behind you. How did you make this happen? I mean, was this?
Well, you don't know. You don't. It takes no. Well, it takes no effort because they're just everywhere. They're just like get a camera.
So
and
you just said, "Hey, come behind me."
No, that's actually just Nick's natural entourage.
Well,
Ryan, just happened to be there that day.
who is like producing these segments is just some kind of genius. I mean, he's just ridiculous. Like, wow. He can kind of buzz up a crowd from nowhere, but
that's real material right there.
Like, you can see they didn't exactly need much buzzing up.
No, so the energy will be a little bit different this time around, but it is an American classic nonetheless, and we are going to have some fun. That's for sure.
Yeah, Jordan apologizes for that last section being a bit of a mess, and I can only agree it was a complete mess. But anyway,
Nick, I remembered something. I want to go back and correct something.
Mark.
I know. I can't let it go because if there's a piece of information that I want to share, I have to. So one of the other reasons why I do it backhand like that with the measuring device is that you can see the little kind of etchings on the inside as far as the measurements. So a quarter ounce, half ounce, 3/4 of an ounce. So that is definitely an argument for doing it backhand because then you can actually look down.
So it's not all for show.
Yeah. Even as I was saying that, I was like, I know there's a reason why I do that, but it was a really good question. I hadn't thought about it. But so that's how you can look down and directly see your measurements. Whereas if you did it sort of to the side, you would have to look over to see how that filled up. So little amendment there. Had to say it.
I preferred the showman thing.
Yeah,
me too. Floor and flourish. Flare and flourish.
I have to get the geekiness in there. It's geekiness and flourish, I guess. I don't know.
When you're as handsome as Mark Tuberty, ladies and gentlemen, you can afford to be a geek.
I'm going to put that on my business card. I like that.
Jeff's still going to do the flourish, as you should, Jeff.
I can't let this episode of CNC disappear without mentioning what's coming up in Europe this weekend, because when it's great racing in France, we're all Europeans. The Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe is going to be run in a quagmire, which has paid to the participation of Love. But as I said at the beginning of the show, it means that Love will come to the Breeders' Cup turf and she'll run against Gaiath. So two of the great horses in Europe running in the Breeders' Cup turf. So Chad, if you've got anything, start running now. As far as Enable is concerned, the great mare that won the Breeders' Cup 2 years ago and has been one of the great mares in horse racing history, she could yet win her third Arc de Triomphe at the age of 6 on Sunday, and we're keeping our fingers crossed she can. She's got the ground to contend with, but she's had the perfect preparation. She's got a great draw, everything set up for her. Will age catch up with her? Will a younger horse have her legs? Will it just be one bridge too far, or will she etch herself into the pantheon of all-time greats if she's not there already? We will find out on Sunday afternoon. I think you can see it on DVG, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent.
She's remarkable. I hope she does it. I can only imagine what's going through John Gosden and Frankie Dettori's mind right now as she prepares for that, but also prepares for what I would presume would be retirement after this race. So there's a lot that goes into the Arc. So we look forward to that. And amongst much great racing, stateside and overseas. So cheers to the weekend. 16
Breeders' Cup Challenge Series win and you're in races across 3 countries this weekend. So cheers to that.
I'm going to go get myself a glass of wine to cheers with you once we're done.
You deserve one.
You're going to have to find it with that hotel.
Take it easy. We'll be back next week for episode 24. Bye-bye. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.